So welcome, my name is David Raymond, and this is our CyberRange weekly workshop. Here's the schedule. Here's the schedule, short-term schedule, I guess, right? So last week we talked about text files. So viewing text files at the terminal window. This week we are going to continue our introduction to the command line interface, continue this module on processing text files, and so we're on lesson G2, which is parsing text files. So there's a whole bunch of workshops that precede this, and you can find them all on our Virginia CyberRange YouTube channel. So if you just go to youtube.com and search on Virginia CyberRange, you will find a bunch of videos, and there are several playlists. One of the playlists is the intro to command line interface. And so this latest workshop will get slotted into the end of that playlist, and you can find all the preceding intro to command line interface sessions, which number about like 20 or so now, maybe more than that. So lots of good stuff out there. And here we are. The course author for this content is Matthew Vogel. He's a faculty member at Tidewater Community College here in Virginia. And so if you have access to the CyberRange, you can search on Introduction to the Command Line Interface in our course repository, and you'll find his whole course, which is a very detailed and complete introduction to the Command Line Interface. And we're on Module G, lesson 2 of Module G. So Module G is pretty short. There's only 2 lessons, and this second lesson is parsing text files. And so these are the different Linux terminal utilities we're going to explore today. Lots of different interesting things that you can use to parse text files. We'll look at the WC command, the diff command, grep. Grep's probably the most useful of all of these. The sort command, the paste command, NL, and then unique. And here's the same list. Okay, we'll start with the WC command. WC. So in some countries that means that's the bathroom, but that's not us, right? WC command in Linux is for counting words, and it's not just for counting words. You can also count lines and characters and bytes and all kinds of different things in a ASCII text file, at the Linux terminal. So if you just enter WC followed by the name of the file that you want to explore, then what you will get is multiple numbers. And if you just look at those numbers by themselves, it's not very self-explanatory, right? So I'll go ahead and pull up my terminal and do this. So here I am at my terminal command line, and I have some files in here. Some of the stuff is from my previous command line interface sessions. Some of it I created a couple of files just for today. But if you remember last time, we looked at this file called const.txt, and that's the Constitution. So I just catted the Constitution, and so if I wanted to count the number of words in the Constitution, then I could say WC and then const.txt, and here's what I get. I get 3 numbers: 872, 7,652, and 45,119. And unless you know what to expect out of the word count command, this again isn't very self-explanatory. So how do I know what those numbers represent? Well, the man page would probably tell me that, right? So if I did man and then const, if I took a couple of minutes and read through this, okay, it says right at the top, print new line, word, and byte counts for each file. So new lines, words, and byte counts. So 872 lines in the Constitution, at least in this text version of the Constitution. There's 872 lines, 7,652 words, and 45,119 individual characters in this text file. And that's what my slide says, right? The WC command shows the number of lines. I should pull up my laser pointer. Number of lines, number of words, number of bytes, and then it lists the file name. So if you only want to see, this is how I usually use the WC command, because usually what I'm looking for is a word count, and that's, I don't know, that's what you'd expect from the word count command, right? I usually use WC with the dash word option because then I know I'm going to get the number of words. And sometimes I forget that it's number of lines and number of words and number of bytes. It's not hard to figure out, but if you just always use it with the dash W option, then you're going to get what you want. If you only want to see the number of lines, you can use the dash L option. So if I say WC dash W const, then all I get is the number of words, right? 7,652, and then the name of the file. If I just want the number of lines, I can just get the lines. If I just want the number of characters, I bet I could do a dash C, and there's the number of characters, right? So pretty simple command, but it does a useful thing that we need to do sometimes. So here's the examples I just showed. Okay, grep. Let's talk for a minute about grep. We could probably do a whole workshop on grep. In fact, maybe I've already done a whole workshop on grep. We'll keep it pretty simple for grep today. What you do with grep is you find strings. Grep stands for, I'm going to forget this now. Well, maybe I'll pull up the man page. It's a general regular expression parser, grep, general regular expression parser. So it's really looking for regular expressions. And I did a workshop on regular expressions a couple of months ago. So if you need an intro to regular expressions, you can go to the Virginia Cyber Range YouTube channel and find we have a couple of regular expression workshops in there. One of them I did, which is very much an introductory one, and then Thomas Weeks here in the Cyber Range, he did a more advanced command line version of that regular expression workshop. And so grep is used to find regular expressions, and a word is a regular expression, right? If you're and that's how most people use grep. They use grep to find individual words in a file, but it is useful to know that you can use grep to search for regular expressions because that's a much more powerful, it's much more powerful utility. It's better than just being able to find words. You can find all kinds of character combinations based on a regular expression that you create. So how do I use grep? Well, I use grep at the command line. I can provide some options if I want to, and then I put in the search string. This is where I put in my regular expression that I want to search for. Again, that's usually just like a single word that I'm searching for in a file, and then I put in the file name. And you can use the -n option to see line numbers for the matching lines in the file to find the line where you find for an individual thing that you're searching for. And that's helpful if you are, well, I'll show you how that's helpful in a minute. On most Linux distributions, the search string will be in red in the output, right? So it's easy to find. And the grep command, you can use grep with pipes as well, and I'll show you how to do that too. So I can do the example on the slide. What's the example on the slide? Yeah, so I can grep. Let's say I want to find instances of the word people in the Constitution. So I can grep people. So remember, it's grep, then the search term, then the file, and the file is const.txt. So when I do that, here's my output. Each one of these is a line from the file, and the word people is what I searched for. That's the regular expression or the search term. And so I get as output, I get each line that has the word people in it, and there's the word people highlighted in red. Okay, and that's helpful. But if I were to wanted to go in and actually start editing this file, it might be more helpful to actually know exactly where that line is, right? Which line out of 872 lines does the word people show up? And really, you're gonna see that more if you're editing like a configuration file, right? So in this folder, I have a SSHD config file, and let's say I want to find where so I can set SSH up for like password authentication or not. So maybe I want to grep the word password in the SSHD config file, and so here I see where the word password is shows up. And if I really want to know exactly where those lines are, then I could say grep -n password, and then the name of the file. And now I know exactly where to find, I get the line number for each one of those lines, so I know exactly where to find that particular instance of the word password. Then when I go into the file, I don't have to grope around for it. I know where to go to find it. I can also pipe things through grep and do very similar things, right? So piping is when I take the output of one command and then cause that output to be the input to the next command. So I could do something like I could cat sshd config, and then I could use a pipe, and then I could pipe it through grep -n and then search on the word password. So I'm taking the output of cat, which is going to display the contents of the file. I'm going to pipe the output of that through the grep command, and I'm grepping. I'm going to add the line numbers. I'm going to find the lines with the word password, and I do that, and I get the exact same output as I got up here, right? So it's just a different way to do the same thing, and I do that to show that you can pipe things through grep. And so anytime you're doing something and you want to get output from a command and you want to find specific things in that output, you can just pipe it through the grep command and search on that term, and you're going to easily find that thing. So it's very useful in that context. Okay, and that's the grep command, and that's let's see. Oh yeah, this is grep with the -n option, and then this is cat. This is piping things through grep. Okay, the sort command is interesting. Sort command sorts things, and it's often the case that you need to be able to sort a list of stuff, right? So sort command can be used to sort the contents of a file. The default output of the sort command is going to be the default output is to the command line interface, right? So it's going to dump the output to the command line. If you wanted to, you could pipe the output to a file, or redirect the output to a file, I should say. If you want to sort things in reverse, you just use the -r option. And if you want to output the sorted list to a file, you can use the -o option followed by the file name. Sort command can also be used to sort numbers, and to sort numbers, to sort numbers, you can use the -n option to sort things numerically. You can also sort things by date. You can sort things in different ways. And if you look at the man page, you can figure out how to do all that cool stuff. And I mentioned before, the sort command can also be piped to the output of another command to refine the output. So I could sort and then pipe to grep, or I could sort and then pipe to whatever, or I could sort and I could redirect into a file instead of doing this -o thing. So let's take a look at sort. And so I have this list of last names, right? And great, super helpful list of last names, but my last names seem to be in some sort of a random order, right? And I might want those to be in a sorted order. So how do I do that? Well, I can just say sort last names, and lo and behold, things are now sorted alphabetically from Armstrong down to Wolf. And if I want to sort that stuff and I want to output the results to a file, I can say -o, and I can say sorted names. And now if I cat sorted names, there's my sorted file with the stuff in it, right? And then the other thing I could do is I could sort last names, and I could redirect into a different file. So that's the same, I accomplish the same thing in a couple of different ways. And I don't have a list of numbers to sort, but believe me, you can use the -n option to sort things, to sort numbers. And I can also sort. I can take my sorted. I could take my. I could sort. I could reverse sort my more sorted names, right? So now I took that list of names that were sorted, and I now sorted them in reverse order. So sort is pretty useful for doing that thing, for doing that one very specific thing. Yeah, so here's a similar example with a shorter list of names, first names. And here's the example with the numbers, right? He cats this file. That's just a list of numbers, and then he does the sort with the -n, and there they are. There's the numbers sorted in numerically increasing order. Okay, so the paste command can be used to combine two files together in columns, and then you can redirect the output of the paste command to another file by using the redirect operator. So what I could do here is I have a list of last names and I have a list of first names, and maybe what I could do is I could paste the last names and the first names. Let's see what happens when I do that. Paste first names, last names. Yeah, I did that, and it turns out I have way more first names than I have last names on my list. So up here at the top, I have first names with the first set of last names, and so these got squished together into one, into columns. And then I didn't have enough last names to fill out my longer list of first names. But now what I could do is I could say, I could paste those two columns of content together into a file named full names, and then I could cat full names, or I could add full names. So here's the top of the file with first name corresponding last name. Of course, it works better if you have a similar number of things in the two different files, to similar number of lines in the two different files. That's the paste command. Might be useful to you at some point in the future. And then there's this NL command used to add line numbers to a file. So you can output the new file by using the redirect operator, or the redirect operator. And the NL command does the same thing as the cat command with the -n option, right? So again, you have two different ways to do the same thing. So I could cat first names. Well, let's see. Let me do the NL first names. NL first names, and you see I have 100 first names here. If I did NL with last names, you'll see I only have 50 last names. That's why my two columns were offset. But I could also do cat -n last name, and I get the identical output. Well, yeah, I got an extra line here. So I get essentially the identical output, right? So it's two different ways to do the same thing. So the NL command will add number lines to a file. And then we have the unique command. The unique command can be used to remove duplicate consecutive lines from a file. So that's kind of interesting. Normally the file is sorted first, then pipes the unique to remove the duplicates. You can send the output of the file to a new file using the redirect operator. Yeah, so it turns out I have this list of first names, my cat first names. I have this list of first names, and if you looked at this for a couple of minutes, you'd see that a bunch of these names are repeated, right? So this is not a list of unique first names. And there's 100 names here, but they're not unique, right? There's some duplicates. And here's a mistake that people often make with the unique command. They might say, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of those duplicates in my list of first names. I'm going to say unique. And here's my first names file, right? So I only want, and what unique does is it removes duplicates. So if I say unique first names, and then maybe I want to pipe that through WC-L or WC-W to see how many first names there are. I did unique first names and I piped it, and it says there's still 100 names in here. So what that tells me is that, well, there are 100 unique names. Well, that's not the case. There are not 100 unique names. I'm telling you, there are duplicates in here. If you look through the file a little bit, you'd find that there are duplicates. And so the reason this is not filtering out the duplicates is because the duplicates have to be next to each other in the output. So if I were to do the man page with unique unique. It says, the description says very clearly, filter adjacent matching lines from input. Writing to output, right? So it's gonna filter adjacent matching lines. So they have to be next to each other. Okay, so I have this unsorted list of names. So my matching names are not next to each other. How do I get them in the right order? Well, I sort them first. So I might say sort first names. And if I were to do this, you will see that there are some duplicates, right? Here's Amaya is in here twice. Anna, Andy, Aurelia is in here twice, right? So some of the names are duplicates. And so I just sorted these names and I sorted them and I piped them through less. And, you know, if I sorted them and piped them through WC-W, I still have 100 names because I haven't done the unique thing yet. But if I sort them and then I pipe them through unique, now I get a sorted version, right? So maybe I'm going to ask myself the question, well, how many names are in here? How many unique names are in here? I could sort first names, I can pipe through unique, and then I could sort, and then I could pipe through WC-C. And whoops, I did number of characters. That's not right. Let me scratch my head there for a minute. Number of words, WC-W, right? Number of total words. And you'll see that there were 25. There's the output is 75 unique words, so 75 names. And that means that 25 of the names are duplicates. And that's exactly how I created the file. I had a total of 100 random, I had a total of 75 random names, and I put them all in a file, and then I added 25 of the same ones in the same file to get 100. And so that number is exactly what it should be. So that's how you use these different commands in combination to get what you want. And just remember, if you're ever using the unique command, you have to sort and then pipe through unique, because unique is only going to find adjacent lines that are the same. It would be kind of nice if unique did the sorting bit also, but it doesn't. You have to sort and then go into unique. And then you can always redirect the output of any Linux command to a file by using the redirector and then putting in a file name. So I could do something like unique first names. So I just redirect into a different file, and now I can, whoops, oh, I didn't even do my names, right? I only redirected the number in there. So what I want to do is I want to redirect. First, I want to sort the last names, and I want to find the unique ones, and I'm going to pipe those. I want to redirect those names into my file. Okay, so now if I less unique first names, that's my list of 75 names. And if I did a WC on those, then there's 75. All right, that's it. So those are tools for parsing files in the Linux terminal. And the ones that are probably the most useful, again, is the grep command. That's super useful. The sort command is pretty useful. I use the unique command once in a while to filter stuff out. The rest of them, it's good to know they're there. You might not use them a lot, but when you're trying to do something and you need a command to do it, at least you know those things exist and you know where to look. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for being here. And you can find lots of great resources at our knowledge base, kb.virginiacyberrange.org or kb.uscyberrange.org. And we got all these YouTube videos at our YouTube channel at Virginia Cyber Range. And if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me or to our support team at one of the emails listed here. And we'll see you all next week. So thanks.